a nice place to have it.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
3.
3. Do you want those kids to experience, Jody, what you felt in court?
No.
I want you to be perfectly candid. When you left there, that after seeing these guards march in and threaten your friend here by saying to him that if you don't take this stand, you may go to prison. And when they did march in, and from what I understand, is that they walked in briskly, and didn't one of you state that you saw handcuffs on one of them?
Yes, I saw leather strap for restraining, and ankle shackles and handcuffs, and a taser on the man's back, or in the back of his belt.
And when these guards marched in,
I would say
how many guards were there?
I would say they did more than marched. I would say it was almost a storm. There was 8 in uniform and 1 man that come in a tie. I don't know who he was, if he was possibly the warden.
And what did they say when they came in?
Where is he?
You agree with that?
Yes, that's what I heard too.
Where is who, Jody?
They were
who
looking.
were they speaking to?
They were looking for the person who was.
That was
they
what?
thought in trouble.
The troublemaker.
Right. And when they came in, that who did they see that posed this judge harm or risk? Who was this person?
Well, they really couldn't find him because
Right.
he had taken the stand.
Now, who's he?
Kevin took
Kevin.
the stand.
And up until then, was he loud? Was he a threat to this judge in any way?
I presume that in court, the judge sits up there and makes sure things don't go between the defendant and the plaintiff. Well, she was arguing with Kevin. You know, it was...
Such as
she was
what?
prosecuting?
Yeah, and arguing about the rules. You know, the lawyer over here was quiet for a long time, and it was like them two going at it, not like the lawyer and, you know, the plaintiff and the defendant.
Uh-huh.
It was the judge and the defendant, you know.
She wasn't presiding over, she was being a part of the prosecution.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, she
was right in the battle. I mean, it shouldn't have been a battle.
Right.
Well, she left 3-4 times and never dismissed court. You know, she just got up out of her chair and went in the door, and there we're sitting, waiting.
Mm-hmm. But the way it was explained to us, that the judge got up and said that she's going to have to recuse herself.
Recuse, yes.
And what happened in that case, Jody?
She got up and said that, but the lawyer goes, what does that mean? He didn't even know. Here he went through how many years of school, and he didn't even know what it meant. And she got up and left the courtroom, and I guess went and called somebody.
When she came back in, what did she say at that point in time? She had described who she had spoken to.
She said she was going to petition the courts to be removed from this case. And she didn't say who she was calling, but she come back in and said that she had called somebody and she was advised not to make that decision. So she said, I'm going to continue on with this case.
What did she say next? But do you remember? Was it the fact that she said that now we have a new rule that 207 supersedes what? To continue on.
Well, basically 207 superseded everything. The rules of evidence, 319, with the plaintiff needs to appear in court. 3.7 did not apply anymore. 3.7 obviously says that the lawyer can't prosecute and give expert witness or testimony. And she said that she's not bound to that rule, I believe is how she worded it.
Mm. So what you're thinking on exactly what Dan just said, could you elaborate any more on that?
Well, she was siding with the plaintiff, you know, saying she wasn't following any of the rules. She just wanted to go on with the whole thing. And
yeah, Jim, let me ask you this now, right, because you've been around a long time doing these shows. That if you went into court and you actually looked at the judge and said, Judge, according to this rule here, here, and here, and the judge would look at you and say, well, I'm sorry, we're not going to adhere to those rules, and it's my interpretations that I'm not going to use that rule. Jim, what would your reactions be?
I would be very upset. I would have to call the judge out on it, that he's violating his oath of office. He's doing a breach of duty and a breach of contract because he took an oath to follow this. This was written by the Supreme Court for that. These are the rules for that judge.
Okay.
And he is being a criminal up there.
And would you react calm as this, or would you do exactly what this man did, and you'd be upset? Now, why would you be upset, Jim?
Because they're violating my rights away. They've dragged me into court on a bogus charge of a debt that never existed in the first place. And now they're bulldozing me over, violating all the rules at my expense.
Jim, knowing now what you know, can you see a person that goes into court that understands what you know, then have a sitting judge tell you that I'm going to rule these rules the way I want to, and I frankly don't care what you say? Who in their right mind would not be upset?
It would upset anybody that was in their right mind.
Right, and who in their right mind would not raise their voice? Jody? But other than that,
it's a natural reaction when you're getting attacked, and especially when you're following rules, they tell you that you have to, and they just disregard them and make up their own. Right.
So how would you react at that time now, knowing what Dan or Kevin did? But how else should he act? How else would you act? Would you raise your voice, Jody?
Yes.
With what you know?
Yes.
Now, so what harm now by raising your voice did that voice pose to her?
Oh, she probably felt threatened.
Threatened by what? From a guy that's sitting there as calm as he, saying, Your Honor, I object.
With 8 correctional officers standing around you, this judge is intimidated?
Yeah. So, your first time in court, how did this change your life, or do you think it did change your life?
No, it shattered me that day. I went home and I couldn't even think. I was like, what if that would have been me in there? And what if she would have said, I'm putting you in jail, and I didn't even do nothing, except I would have tried to follow the rules of court. She's not even following what she's supposed to follow, and she's telling me I could end up in jail.
Knowing how this affected you, would you be anxious to go back in the court to exercise your constitutional rights?
Not really yet, because it's like, if they're not following the rules.
If you had a case before that same judge, would you be leery about going in there and having the same thing done to you as what Judge Heck did to him?
Yes.
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 And I want to know the truth. When you came home that night, and I heard from Dan that you were very, very upset, and that you were a basket case. Is that true?
Yes.
Why do you believe that? Look, after all, this here's the United States, right?
Right.
And was supposed to be free.
Right.
And that judge, that was supposed to be neutral. Okay? And over 1 million boys and girls have lost their lives now to make this country what it should be. Right? Do you believe that judge was a threat to the very foundation of your core system? Fine. It wasn't that the fact that you intimidated the judge. The fact of it was that what upset her is that she could not intimidate you, to force you to make the stand, to take the stand. Okay? Now, Jody, with that in mind, would you want your kids to be raised in this system?
No.